Now let's bring in Suat Kniklioglu for more insight on this story. He is a former MP for the ruling party, the AKP, and now the head of the Center for Strategic Communication, a think tank in Ankara. Good to have you with us, Suat. So, in your estimation, what is Turkey looking for out of this NATO meeting?
Well, Turkey wants, first of all, its allies to acknowledge that it is facing two threats at the same time. Although the YPG has been fighting IS in the past with the US support, the situation is rather complex given the YPG is tied to the PKK. And as was earlier indicated, this secure zone that's being planned obviously requires some sort of agreement among the allies. And a potential attack by the Syrian regime or by IS against Turkey would obviously necessitate a NATO response, or at least a response that would be condoned by the allies.
The U.S. has said that there is no connection between these airstrikes against the PKK and recent understandings to intensify U.S.-Turkey cooperation against ISIL. How are these two military operations seen, though, in Turkey?
Well, in Turkey, this has a very strong domestic political component. The government was, until very recently, engaged in a peace process with the PKK, which pretty much broke off in the last week after the Suruç bombing exactly a week ago. The killing afterwards of two police officers and the number of soldiers on the front and in the eastern Turkey has created a situation where the government is actually using the IS operation as some sort of cover to simultaneously attack PKK targets in northern Iraq. It is also has some sweeps inside Turkey, but the situation is very tense because the expectation here was for a long time that the government and the PKK will be able to come to some sort of agreement eventually, ending a three-decade-old conflict. Now, with the fighting resuming, all bets are off, and many Turks are concerned that in the event of an early election, which is highly likely, Turkey could see a very violent election period.
So talk to us just a bit about your understanding of these safe zones that Turkey would like to create. How effective would that be?
Well, this safe zone has been an idea that Turkey wanted for some time. It was more pronounced as a no-fly zone. But given the Obama administration's opposition, this has not been possible so far. I think the difference now is Turkey opening its air bases to the coalition fighting against ISIS has created a new dialogue with Washington that would foresee first the clearing of this zone, which is about 100 kilometers wide and 40 to 50 kilometers deep. First clearing IS members out of there, then let this region be governed by more moderate opposition forces that are supported by Turkey and others. But there are obviously complications first to identify who these moderate forces could be. The numbers that have come so far that have been vetted by the United States are rather limited. Secondly, Turkey is also looking for a future Syrian refugees being relocated back into Syria. Turkey has now more than 2 million refugees, which is a huge economic cost, but also a social and political cost. Turkey is looking forward for this secure zone to be able to host or send some of these refugees back. Obviously, Turkey's first priority is to get rid of President Assad. And this has been a disagreement between Washington and Ankara for quite some time. But I think, although the Turkish government has not been articulating this, a second thought behind this secure zone is really to have the allies agree, first and foremost the United States in the future, to establish more secure zones that would eventually bring about the fall down of President Assad.
Suat Kniklioglu joining us live from Ankara. Suat, thank you so much for your insights as the policy there shifts in Turkey.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.